Hello, my name is Shaw. I want to share my testimony. I grew up in a home where we didn't go to church, and I didn't know if I believed in God or not. But when I was 12 years old, my parents told me they were getting divorced. So I thought it was a good time to pray. I said, God, if you're real, please don't let my parents get divorced. If you love me, if you have any power at all, please don't let them get divorced. Well, my parents got divorced, so I said, fine, there is no God. I ran a test. God failed. What I didn't realize is I was actually saying, if you're God, you will do exactly as I say. But anyway, at that point I became a self-professing atheist. And later on that year, my dad started dating a Christian teacher at my school. She asked me if she could take my brother and I to church, and he said, sure. So we started going to church, and I thought, thanks, Dad. I want to go to a place with people I don't know, worshiping a God that doesn't exist. I know God doesn't exist. I ran a test. God failed. Well, we started attending church, and I heard people talking about answered prayers and stuff like that, and I thought, well, okay, maybe God is real. I don't know. But, with Jesus, all I'd really been taught about Jesus was I knew that he was the baby in the manger at Christmas. I'm hearing people talk about him, and I'm thinking, well, big deal if he died on a cross. I mean, if you're God, you're magic. It didn't hurt. I mean, who's going to hurt if you don't have to? So that's kind of where my mindset was about who God was, and maybe God was real, but if so, it didn't matter what Jesus did, because if he was God, he was magic, and it didn't hurt. Well, during the spring break of my seventh grade year, a pastor from Bullhead City, Arizona, came to my town and preached that whole week. Well, on Tuesday, he preached a sermon and said, Grace is not a blue-eyed blonde. I thought, what are you talking about, Grace is not a blue-eyed blonde? I don't even know any girls named Grace. He said that grace was God's riches at Christ's expense. Grace. And in the course of his sermon, he showed us and taught that Jesus was fully human and fully God, that he experienced life in every human way just like we do, and that he suffered a horrible, painful death for sins that he'd never committed. He went to hell for sins he'd never committed, and he was raised into new life so that we could have a relationship with God. When I listened to that, I thought, oh my gosh. And at one point, the pastor said that God loves us enough to let us make our own choices, even when those choices break God's heart. Well, it was an epiphany for me, and I realized, maybe God was real. Maybe God let my parents divorce because he was God. He let them choose, even though that choice broke my heart and probably broke God's heart. But as I'm listening and all these things are going on in my mind, at the end of the sermon, the pastor said that if anyone wanted to accept Christ, they should come forward. And I thought, okay, God. The song was playing, Just As I Am. And I thought, okay, just as I am. This is how I am, Lord. I don't know you. I don't even know for sure if you're real. I've never read the Bible. I don't know anything about it. I've read the outside cover. That's all. But if you are real, God, then I want to know you. If you love me like they say you love me, I want to love you too. I realized that I was really a pretty good kid. And from my perspective, don't blame me if I didn't do it. I didn't do that. Don't blame me. And yet I had done a lot of things and never been caught. So it really moved me that they were saying that Jesus took the blame for everything he had never done. For all the sins he had never committed. He took the blame for that. I thought, wow, if that's true, that is a lot of love. And I want to know that love. So that night I went forward and I asked Christ to come into my heart. I said, God, if you're real, I want to know you. I figure if God is real, then it will make a difference. Something will change. I had always known that there was a restlessness in my heart, but I didn't know why or how to solve that. Well, I asked Jesus Christ into my heart that night, and my life changed. And the reality of God has been present in me ever since. I was baptized the next night, and from that point on, really, I've been active and faithful and growing in church. Well, that is how I came to know Jesus Christ. It was later on in my life that I began to recognize that I was gay. I was taught that it was sin, and when I began to struggle with that personally, my first response was, oh God, take this away. Change me. Take this out of my heart. I don't want to feel this way. Everything I'd ever been taught was that homosexuality was sin, so I tried to pray it away. I knew that the most important relationship in my life was with Jesus Christ, and I didn't want to damage that by being in love with some girl. But I couldn't seem to change, even though I begged and prayed, pleaded, God, please take this out of my heart. I don't want to have these feelings. Feelings didn't go away. And eventually I kind of got mad at God. It's like, look, I'm trying to be straight, and you're not helping me much. But that frustration eventually led me into a study. I was challenged by somebody else to prove to them that homosexuality was sin. And I thought, okay, that's what I'll do. Well, it turned out that that study re-educated me to the new point of view that I have, that yes, I am Christian, and yes, I love women. I'm a lesbian and I'm a Christian, both by choice. Actually, I should say not both by choice. I'm a lesbian by nature and I'm a Christian by choice. But I choose to identify as both. And I'm fully out and fully open. And there's a lot of freedom in being able to be who God has created me to be. So that is my testimony. I hope you enjoy your time on the Pride in the Truth website and access the resources and the products that we have.